This is the Nancy Stevens Lifestyle Show here on the New Horizon Radio. In association with Haversley, experts in the sale of lettings, estate agency and block management businesses. If you're thinking of selling now or in the next 5 years, get in touch. They're a friendly bunch at haversleygroup.com.
Welcome to the Nancy Stevens Lifestyle Show here on the New Horizon Radio, and we've got a packed lineup, so settle in. I'm going to be sharing my thoughts on Joe Wicks' explosive new documentary, License to Kill, and you're never going to eat a protein bar ever again after this. I'm going to be taking you inside the breathtaking, mind-blowing world of Cirque Éloize, the most incredible thing I've ever seen at Milton Keynes Theatre. We're going to chat about Miranda Hart's autobiography. Was it funny or a little bit self-indulgent? I'm also going to dish the dirt on Celebrity Traitors and break down all the sparkle, sequence and drama movie week on Strictly with Cynthia Erivo, which was just phenomenal. And to top it off, my fabulous guest today is Annette, Gong instructor and Reiki master, who'll be sharing her insights on wellness, energy and finding balance in everyday life, which is what we could all do with. Grab a cuppa, get comfy, stay tuned, and coming up right here on the Nancy Stevens Lifestyle Show. Let's talk Celebrity Traitors. OMG. Is this the best thing on television at the moment? I think hands down it actually is. And the question is everyone is asking, is Alan Carr the best or the worst traitor ever? I think personally he's genius. The sweating, the giggling, the overacting is just pure comedy gold. He's fantastic. They could not have chosen a better traitor. And alongside him is Jonathan Ross, wearing the most incredible garb. I've never seen costumes quite like it. He's kind of channeling his inner Claudia. At one point at breakfast he was wearing this tartan cape, which was very odd, and then he's wearing a flying suit from Top Gun. It's all very bizarre, but it's very Jonathan Ross. And I think possibly he's going to be outed. I think the heat is on, so I think we need to watch out. That I think he was probably going to be outed as a traitor in the next couple of weeks. But brilliant. And Kat is under the radar. She's making an amazing traitor because she's not saying very much. She's just there, very, very quiet. But honestly, absolutely brilliant. And the faithfuls are useless. They have not caught one single traitor. They've not even got really close. As I say, they've thrown a little bit of shade towards Jonathan, but not enough. And he's very good at deflecting. He's a chat show host. Obviously, he's good at deflecting. So honestly, it's fantastic, fantastic television. But Alan Carr is just brilliant. I mean, he's chaotic, he's bumbling, he's funny. And I almost want to put him on sort of freeze frame to capture his expressions, because they are so genius. They're like, ooh, oh, it's just so funny. He's phenomenal. This is the best piece of casting ever. Thank you, Claudia, or whoever does it. So best or worst traitor ever, maybe both, but he is certainly the most entertaining. So stay tuned, because honestly, if you've not watched Celebrity Traitors, you are missing out on the best show on television. I'm going to be talking about Joe Wicks, License to Kill, his new documentary on Channel 4. Joe Wicks is usually the cheery face of fitness culture, and he got us through lockdown with his keep fit routines. But in this hard-hitting new documentary, he trades smiles for stunts as he takes aim at the ultra-processed food industry. He teams up with Dr. Chris Van Tollecken, of whom I'm a huge fan. Dr. Chris Van Tollecken wrote Ultra-Processed People, which is an incredible book, and I read it last year, and it really did change my perception on what I was eating, because what you think is good is not necessarily. More of that in a minute. But I haven't eaten ice cream since, put it this way. So Dr. Chris Van Tollecken's book is an expose on what goes on in the food industry. So it seemed like a marriage made in TV heaven for these two to get together. So they've basically set out to create a health food, creating their own killer protein bar packed with legal yet controversial ingredients that may argue are linked to cancer, strokes, death, obesity, type 2 diabetes, the whole works. So a lot of big buzzwords bandied around, and I don't know how much fact was actually there, but it doesn't hold back. It's very, very provocative. Anyway, they launched their bar, this killer bar, to test regulatory limits and challenge the government's sort of inaction. Joe Wicks is passionate about it. He really, really is. And he's trying to sort of go beyond the sort of go better eating that we're, that is being peddled in the shops, because what we're eating is not good for us. We know that. We are, I think, I think our type 2 diabetes rates are the highest in Europe, and this is largely down to ultra processed food. But not everybody is buying into the message. Some people are saying that the film's sort of black and white framing is sort of demonizing all ultra processed foods, and it's really difficult to get that balance actually, because let's be honest, we all at some point will be eating ultra processed food, unless you're an absolute purist and you've got all the time in the world. Lots and lots of families who are maybe on the bread line don't sort of have access to fresh ingredients, or don't know how to cook, or it's just easy and it's quick. And if you're maybe working 2 or 3 jobs, popping a microwave meal in is going to be the easiest thing. So it's very hard to get a balance about not demonizing ultra processed foods. But for me personally, I really do try and look at the ingredients in what I eat. So if there's more than 4 or 5 ingredients, generally I'm not going to eat. I'm not going to buy it. So they generally say, look at, if these ingredients aren't available in your kitchen cupboard, don't eat them. So more than 5 ingredients is generally going to be ultra processed. So it's quite interesting. But I thought I'm going to go and buy a protein bar, because I haven't bought a protein bar since I read ultra processed people last year. And this kind of innocuous labeling, this is called Kind Protein. Again, this is all about labeling. Kind, it makes it sound generous and sweet and loving, and and 12 grams of protein. And protein is the buzzword at the moment. We all need to be eating more protein. But when you look at actually what's in here, if you can read the ingredients, which are absolutely minuscule, you've got palm oil, which is absolutely shocking. There's a lot of sugar in here. Lecithin as well, apparently, is a nasty. Tapioca starch. What is that even? Chicory root fiber, glucose syrup. They don't sound like great ingredients to me. And actually, in essence, there's only 12 grams of protein there. So you're better off just having an egg, honestly. But the way these things are peddled is, making it easy and protein. But as I say, you're probably better off sort of eating sort of eggs and chicken, and you're getting your protein source there. But I would sort of say, if you're undecided and you're not sure, it's really worth watching the documentary. There is a lot of scaremongering, and you almost have to sort of take that out of it. But I would say, next time you're buying a protein bar or anything that is on the shelves that is looking beautifully packaged, have a look at the ingredients. That might make you think twice. I wanted to talk about Cirque Éloize. If you've never experienced Cirque Éloize, imagine the magic of the circus fused with the artistry of contemporary theatre, the elegance of dance, and the wonder of storytelling, all wrapped up in a breathtaking visual feast. This isn't just acrobatics, it's absolute poetry in motion. Every performer seems to defy gravity with a mix of strength, grace, and pure imagination. The staging is utterly cinematic, cascading lights, live music, and the fluid choreography that is just utterly spellbinding. There's one instance which it's very difficult to explain, but there's this huge trampoline set up on stage, and it's sort of like a West Side Story set. So have you ever seen West Side Story? It's very contemporary, and it's literally just big shelves, sort of 6 foot, so you could get a person in them, and to visualize, the guys are sort of falling backwards onto the trampoline and then back up again. So it's at least 6 to 8 feet. It is. I just sat there going, oh my God, I can't, it's just too much. It's incredible. The stunt biking, the guy on his stunt bike going right up to someone, you think he's going to ride right into his face, and it just stops right there just at the last moment. It's all about timing, the impeccable timing. They're having the time of their lives on stage. And there's about 7 or 8 cast members, and they work so beautifully together. Honestly, it's chaos, it's beautifully timed, it's spellbinding, it's the most incredible thing I've ever seen. Unfortunately, it was only on for 2 days. I would have gone again if I could. I would have loved to have taken my boys. Cirque Éloize is it's ID Reloaded, so it's the last time it toured was, I think, 2019. It's a Quebec-based company, and I think they're going to Blackpool and Hull after this. So if you're listening up in the north, this is so worth it. Honestly, I've never seen anything like it. Not often coming out of a show speechless, but I absolutely was. It's not merely a show; it's an absolute experience. Working with Waterstones this week, I'm reviewing Is It Just Me by Miranda Hart. I have to say, I really struggled to get into Miranda Hart's autobiography. I absolutely loved her show, Miranda. It was the best sitcom on television at the time. There hasn't been anything like it since, and there was nothing like it before. And her sort of whole breaking the fourth wall and just being so idiotic and ungainly and unlucky in love, and there was so much about her that was just so relatable. She's been very open about the struggles that she's had with her health subsequent to the show ending, and has kind of been out the public eye. But while she's sort of naturally funny and relatable on screen, this charm just doesn't translate to the page at all, actually. The book felt a little bit too self-indulgent at times. It felt more like a long chat with herself than an engaging story for the reader. There's definitely moments of warmth and wit, and fans of her sitcom humour will find it sort of, the familiar awkwardness comforting, I think. But for me, it sort of really, really lacked depth and became a sort of little bit repetitive. I really wanted sort of more insight into the woman behind the comedy and less of the self-conscious kind of Miranda persona. I'm interested to know what your thoughts. If anybody else has read the book, please give me some feedback. Let me know whether I should persevere with it, because I wasn't engaged at all. So it was entertaining in parts, but overall a little bit too pleased with itself. So this is Miranda Hart's I Haven't Been Entirely Honest With You, available at Waterstones, Milton Keynes. Interested to know your thoughts. Lights, sequins and cinematic sparkle. This week on Strictly Come Dancing was movie week, and we had Cynthia Erivo as guest judge, and oh my god, what an incredible edition. Unfortunately, she didn't score, which I thought was a bit weird actually, but I guess it would have maybe skewed the scores. But she'd come in as a mentor that week for the contestants, and everybody said afterwards what an incredible addition she was, and how much she gave of herself and her time, and everybody's performances really, really seemed quite different, actually. Like she, sprinkled them with her magic stardust. I mean, she just is phenomenal. I didn't really, if I'm honest, I knew who she was, but I didn't really get her until I saw her in Wicked. And then I got her, and then I've Googled everything she's done, and she is an absolute phenomena. I think she's probably going what they call an EGOT. So she's won Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, and Tony. So just a phenomenon. There is nothing this woman can't do, and her singing is incredible. So it was just really wonderful to see her weaving her movie magic in this movie week was really special. So as I say, she joined rehearsals and sort of offered lots of encouragement to the contestants. The dance of the night actually was Lewis and Katya, and he did the most phenomenal paso doble. It was Mask of Zorro, and he had the cape and the hat and everything, and it was all very dramatic, and he actually got a 10 from Motzi. It's very early to be giving out 10s, I think. I mean, it's literally week 3. I think, where do you go? I mean, it was a great paso doble. It really, really was. But I'm not massively invested in him. Again, I just want to see a little bit of humility off camera. Technically, he's a brilliant dancer, but he just doesn't do it for me. I find, even though Amber is technically as good a dancer, also trained, just in case anyone's starting to, again, moan about the fact that they're trained dancers, Amber brings such passion. And she danced to... I'm 16 going on 17 from The Sound of Music, and it was just so sweet and so beautiful and so lyrically done. It was just an absolute joy. I think the sort of most disappointing dance of the night for me was Vicky and Kai. They did a Charleston from The Great Gatsby, a little party never killed anybody. It just wasn't great. It wasn't a bad Charleston, but there were no swivels, and it felt quite heavy-footed. And I knew Craig was going to go on about it, because Craig is all about the swivels, and so there was none of that at all. So it didn't feel very, very Charleston-y actually. So that was really, really disappointing. And poor Vicky, when she was receiving her critique from the judges at the end, she was really, really close to tears, and Tess was sort of comforting her, and I did feel really bad for her, and again, that's not her fault. It's not that she couldn't have executed the dance. That's down to the choreography actually. So that was a bit disappointing, because she's a more than capable dancer actually. Ross and Javita did a dance, Thunderbirds dance. Oh my god, I mean, everything about this dance was as wooden as you would expect it to be. I mean, he was doing the whole kind of puppet thing, and don't get me wrong, I love the Thunderbirds. I'm a big Thunderbirds fan, but did I want to see it in a dance format? Absolutely not. It really just didn't work at all. And as I say, but it did suit him. I mean, it sounds a bit mean. It did really suit him, because he's such a wooden dancer. So it was just a really, really uncomfortable dance to watch, and quite rightly he was voted off. So so far so good in terms of people who are being eliminated, and I would think that next week it's probably going to be Chris, actually. Chris probably needs to go next. But there were some great dancers that evening. I really, really enjoyed it. The movie magic was great. And as I say, having Cynthia Erivo there, we definitely, for the producers of Strictly, if you're listening, please get her back every single year. Get her on to be a judge more often, than once a year, because she is just absolutely phenomenal. So yeah, I absolutely love Strictly, and I cannot wait to see what happens. But as I said last week, I always feel like movie week is too early in the proceedings. It feels, week 3, we shouldn't be doing sort of themed. I feel like we should still be getting to know the dancers, but that's just my personal opinion. But yeah, as I say, I'm really curious to see what happens this week. So that's the first bit of the show. God, like that. Stay tuned for a beautiful wellness chat with Annette Walters of Radiant Wellness. And the core aim of her business is to help people raise their energy vibration for better physical, spiritual, emotional, and mental health. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you, Nancy. It's lovely to be here.
It's lovely. We've got so much to talk about, Annette. So firstly, I just want to say we met only about, beginning of the year. It feels like I've known you forever. I've sort of known of you for ages, and obviously Milton Keynes is a small city, really, relatively speaking, in terms of people knowing each other. But in the wellness industry, it is quite small and quite tight, isn't it? So I first met you at the beginning of the year when I did this wonderful retreat with you and Donna, and what a lovely, special way to start the year. It was lovely, wasn't it?
It is, and I really like to work with Donna as well. She's got such a beautiful energy around her, and her sound baths and her music are wonderful. And we're doing that again this year.
Oh yeah, we had. I would recommend this highly for anybody who I had a really, really bad year last year, and it was such a lovely way to start my year. And but you and Donna both complement each other so beautifully, because you've both got such lovely energy. You just work, so I can see you're just a marriage made in heaven from a wellness perspective. She's got a different energy to you, but you just work so well, and as you say, with her beautiful sound baths, and obviously do your qigong, and that was the first time I'd experienced it, and that's kind of your area of expertise as well as Reiki. So how did you get into qigong?
So with the qigong, just over 6 years ago now, actually, I started working on an NHS project for diabetes prevention, and the project was kind of split into 3 areas. It was groups of people, and it was split into diet and nutrition, into mindset, and into physical activity. And I noticed that most people could apply themselves quite easily to the diet and nutrition and to the mindset, but when it came to physical activity, there was some people felt that maybe they had multiple conditions and they didn't know what was safe to do, so they ended up not doing very much. Or some people had pain and they didn't want to aggravate the pain, so again they didn't do a great deal of exercise. And exercise in the prevention of diabetes can reduce risk by 40%. That is massive, so it's not an area that can be ignored. So I went on a mission to try and find some form of exercise that was accessible whether a person was able-bodied or whether the person was in a wheelchair. You can stand to do qigong, you can sit to do qigong, it can all be adapted. And that's when I went on a good old hunt, and I came across the qigong, and the lockdown hit. And I thought, well, I've got some unexpected time on my hands, so I took a course and I practiced every day. About 2 months in, I noticed quite a big reduction in pain in my hands and my wrists for some arthritis that had been bothering me for a couple of years. And about 3 months in, that pain had gone completely.
That's amazing. Just
absolutely.
Such a short space of time.
Yep. And that wasn't really something that I was expecting. But obviously the gentle movement had taken down the inflammation that was causing the pain. So then after the lockdown, of course, life goes back to crazy, and I'd forget to practice. The pain would come back. I'd go back to practicing, but it was all a bit haphazard. So in the end, I thought, you know what, I'm going to teach. Because if I teach, that's going to keep me practicing, and that's going to keep me pain-free. So I've been teaching for just over 18 months now, and I've been completely pain-free for that time. So bonus.
Absolute bonus, as you say. And the great thing about it, I mean, obviously I did it on the retreat day, and it's so gentle, as you say. It's so accessible for everybody, because the thing that, as I say, if somebody has got sort of a physical condition, you are going to be put off by the word exercise, because that sort of summons up the idea of or conjures up the idea of aerobics, or having to do lots of sweaty exercise and push yourself to extremes, and that's not necessarily obviously the case. And for you, I mean, that to have that unexpected side effect benefit you must have thanked your lucky stars, because on every other level you were feeling great, but then your arthritis had disappeared. That's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's lots of other benefits as well. So a practice of Qigong it's kind of almost like a moving meditation. It's a mind, body, spirit exercise, which is lovely, because in our frantic world, we don't often take that time to be in the present, in the now. So it's very much about being in the present and tuning inwards to how your body really feels, how the movement feels. A practice of Qigong will increase your range of movement. It will build strength, all sorts of things that you're not going to sweat in a Qigong class, which is rather nice. And I do one on an early morning one where people go on to work afterwards, so they come in loose fitting work clothes, do their class and go to work with an elevated energy that's going to see them through the day.
That's such a lovely idea, because as you say, early morning workouts are great, because I like to exercise in the morning. I like to get it over and done with, and it does set me up for the day. But the thing that does put me off is that, getting all hot and sweaty and then having to do all the shower and everything. But as you say, you don't have to do that. You can just literally, you've got your loose fitting clothes for you do the Qigong, and then you can get changed for work and then go off and kick ass in the boardroom, and that's just so wonderful, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a really strange kind of energy, because it's you feel very relaxed at the end of a session, but yet you have this underlying energy that's really going to carry you through the day.
And I'm intrigued to find out a little bit more about one of the other many hats that you wear, and that's Reiki.
Yes.
Tell us about Reiki, because it's one of those things that everybody knows what it is, but they don't really, because I don't really understand. What does that actually mean, and what does a Reiki master actually do?
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, Reiki is, again, like the Qigong, it's all about the energy. And now an interesting little story here is when I first started the bulk of my training about 12 years ago now, people in the training course that I was on were talking about energy, the energy in the room, all this kind of thing. And in those days I was thinking, I can't see the energy.
It's a bit woo-woo.
Show
what
me
they're talking
where
about,
it
yeah.
And I couldn't get it. And that was an NLP course, a neuro-linguistic programming. But I did a Reiki 1 course with my daughter. She loved it. She took to it like a duck to water, and I didn't understand it at all. And I just thought, well, this really isn't for me. But what's interesting is when I started to learn the Qigong and I could physically feel the energy, it started to make a little more sense. And I went back to do the Reiki, and I went all the way through to the Master Reiki level, and I could tangibly feel the energy. I could feel what I was working with, and that made the whole world of difference. So we have an energy system that runs through us, and it runs around us through what's called our auric field. So it is all about channeling the energy through and releasing the energy. So where energy gets stuck, it's a little bit like water. When a stream is flowing, it's beautiful, it's crystal clear and it's beautiful. But when it gets stuck, it becomes stagnant quite quickly. And it's a bit like that with the energy in our body. When the energy gets stuck, that's where we start to see discomfort. And if it continues to be stuck for any length of time, that's where there starts to be dis-ease of the body. So the body is uncomfortable for a length of time, and it progresses into something something more. So it's about recognizing where the energy is stuck in the body and moving it. So it's done, a person stays clothed. It's not like massage. You don't have to have skin-to-skin contact. I can hover my hands just above the body, or I can actually place my hands on the body. I usually say at the beginning, are you okay for me to touch you? And they'll say yes or no. But we've got the main chakra points, which are like the spinning vortexes of energy. And then we've got the meridian lines, which are like the lines of energy that link up the different organs in the body and all the different parts. And both Reiki and Qigong work along these energy systems, so it's quite interesting. And actually this past year, I've been on a crystal healing course, which is a beautiful place in Northampton called the Crystal Barn. And it's been a weekend every month, so it's been quite an intensive course, a Saturday and a Sunday every month for 12 months. But it's really interesting how there's a tangible energy to natural sources like the crystals and the stones, that when they're used in conjunction with the Reiki, they can really enhance that healing power, really. So
it's interesting, because a lot of people, obviously you've known about sort of the healing power of stones symbolizing various things for thousands of years.
Yeah.
But how how did they discover that, rose quartz did X and this did that? Who discovered this? Because, I know there's so much talk about it, and it has been around ever since I can remember. So, and also, how do you, because you must come across a lot of skepticism, with what you do, because, people will brand it as being woo-woo because they don't understand it. So, how with those people who are a little bit more, I suppose, scientific and wanting more facts, how do you kind of persuade people that actually there is something tangible, this does actually work? Or do you just not care?
It depends. I mean, some of the time it's just, well, come along, experience it for yourself and then make up your own decision. And that's quite an interesting challenge to put out there, because most people, when they've experienced it, they're wavering on their thoughts about it, because they can feel that difference. Often people say it feels as if there's a release, and there's a certain release. And as I hover my hand over a person's body, I can feel areas where the energy is denser and areas where the energy is smoother. And I know that those are the areas that need a little bit more focus to release that energy flow again.
And I think, honestly, I'm so lucky because I get to meet so many amazing women in doing what I do. And, you are one of many women who has decided you're not just going to be pigeonholed, and you're not just going to do one thing. You're going to do lots of things and do them well. And I think in the past, women have been pigeonholed into where you could only do, you stay-at-home mum, or you had a nice little job or whatever. But we do so much more, and you wear so many hats. So nutritional therapy is another hat that you wear. Nutrition is obviously very important to you as well, and it's obviously very everything that you do is obviously combined. So your nutrition, where did the whole love of eating well come from?
Well, I think that all came prior to working in the NHS. I was working in positive mental health, and I realised that there was so much to do with the diet that can affect the way that people feel and mood and everything else. So that's when I did the nutritional therapy. But what's really interesting is all these things are linked, and they all link in together to give a better overview. But the project, the National Health Project, it is available to anyone who has blood sugars that fall into the pre-diabetic zone. It's a group programme. It's called the National Diabetes Prevention Plan, which is incredible to see the NHS offering a prevention plan rather than try and fix it when the damage is done. And if anybody's been offered the plan, or if
I have been, yeah,
I really would take it up. It is a 9-month programme, so it does recall that time. But the reason that it's that length of time is to allow for lifestyle changes to happen. Because if you had all the information in 1 or 2 weeks, then you might take action on it for a month and then do nothing. But over the 9 months, that gives time for these changes. And it is small, consistent changes that have a really big impact. Blood sugars can come down really quickly just with making simple changes. And you don't have to say, no, I can never eat chocolate again, because that's rubbish. You can. But it's just not every day. It's about thinking about how can you assess what you currently do, and how can you do it a little bit differently. So it's not about making everyone into marathon runners, making everyone eat salad all day every day. It's not about that at all. You can still have the foods that you like, but when you have the awareness sometimes about the amount of processing that goes into the foods that you're eating, you will start to choose different foods, and that will just be it's that awareness that creates the change.
It is fascinating, and it's so topical, because last week I watched the Joe Wicks documentary, License to Kill, about creating this ultra processed protein bar. And I bought this yesterday. So I don't eat this sort of thing. But this time last year I was diagnosed as pre-diabetic, and it was a hell of a shock to me, because I always had a sweet tooth, and I probably was eating. Well, I know I was eating probably too much ultra-processed food, but I thought at the very least I was insulin resistant, not pre-diabetic. And when I was diagnosed pre-diabetic, I was like, oh my God, I'm not that person. I wasn't your typical, apple. But let me tell you, there is no typical. And as someone who's pear-shaped and always, really struggle with my weight around my thighs, I always knew that it was a healthier shape, but it doesn't actually mean anything, because it's the visceral fat. It's the, it's all that stuff that's going on inside your body, which we don't see. And that was such a wake-up call. And I read, and as I said earlier, I read Chris von Tulleken's Ultra-Processed People. That I haven't eaten ice cream since. It just completely changed my mind. I stopped drinking. I was drinking, I thought I was doing all the right things, and I could not lose weight. And I was drinking these protein drinks, it's saying 25 grams of protein, and like this little protein bar, it says 12 grams of protein. But, when I read out the ingredients, I mean, there's more ingredients there and a lot of sugar.
Yep. Anything that ends in an O's is a sugar. Anything that's a syrup is a sugar. There's many different names for sugar: cane sugar, brown sugar.
Absolutely.
Jaggery.
Yeah. And it's, and it was, I felt like the scales had fallen from my eyes, because I get it. I'd never got it before, and I thought, but as you say, it's about making those small changes. I never went on a diet. I never cut anything out. I just stopped eating ultra-processed food, and that really did help, and intermittent fasting. So I did what worked for me, and, the weight has come off, and I'm back to healthy levels, which is great. And,
fantastic.
And lost 2 stone. But again, I did that with also sort of daily yoga. And again, it's the whole spiritual mindfulness that exercise has got to feel right for you. I didn't go to a gym and kill myself on the, the train. That's not my vibe. I'm just too lazy. I like a much more gentle flow. Don't get me wrong. I think at our age, we do need to be strength training, and I've started doing body pump now. And, it is about strength training, especially in sort of menopause. But, and I talked about that with Elsa last week, but it's also about finding the exercise that works for you. But as you say, you've got to make these small changes. And if you can just stop eating, if you're eating like one bit of processed food a day, just stop. That will make such a difference, won't it?
Yeah. The NHS is saying that ultra-processed food is as dangerous now as smoking has been in the past. So smoking is something in this country that's been largely addressed. But the new real danger is the ultra-processed food. And it's the amount I've got 4 small grandchildren. And it's the amount of processed food that goes into food that's deliberately targeted at tiny children. It's so shocking. It's like,
it's mind-blowing, and it's a big subject, isn't it? It really, really is. I'm having such a lovely chat with Annette Waters, who is just a hive of information. I mean, there's so much, and I'm really interested in you work in the NHS, so you're in 2 camps, but you said that the NHS are now offering this more holistic approach to prevention.
Yes.
This must be a joy for you to hear.
Yes. So in the programme, which runs over 9 months, the NDPP, we have visualisation, we have meditation, we have mindfulness, we have a lot of tools and things to help people with their mindset, because mindset's a great part of it. You can set some fantastic goals, and then you can sabotage them quite easily. So it's about having that mindset, having that motivation to actually work through the goals and achieve the goals and get to the end. So I'm really, really pleased to see the NHS embracing things like meditation and mindfulness, and there's so much out there that people can do at home as well, and they're very simple techniques. So it's not, you don't have to go to a therapist to be able to practice mindfulness.
Would you ever in a million years have thought this would have come about, though, when you started in the NHS?
Not when I started, no. Neuro-linguistic programming, which is one of my core trainings as well, is something that was totally taboo in the NHS, and now that's being, more accepted as a change modality, really, a way to get people to change the way they do things, change the way they think, change the way they feel, and that's extremely effective. Reiki is now used in the NHS, particularly for patients with cancer, because it brings around a sense of calmness, and really that's a lot of it. People that are going through cancer treatments, they want to be able to feel that relaxation that they can't always feel. Just harking back just slightly actually to the Reiki, one of the core things with the Reiki is that it allows the body to fully relax. Now, every person has the ability to heal within their bodies. However, you have to be in a place of deep relaxation for that to happen. And that's the bit that's tricky for a lot of people. So the core thing with the Reiki is to take people to that place of deep relaxation, and then the body can work on what needs working on themselves. Yeah,
I mean, relaxing, I must admit, is really, really hard. And as someone who is living life at 100 miles an hour, and I wear lots of hats, and all of them require a lot of energy and a lot of time. I do find it really difficult to relax, but that's why, as I said to you, getting on my yoga mat in the morning. I've been doing it since lockdown. Just get up, get on with it. It's ingrained. It's habitual now. It just gets me, even if it's only for that 25 minutes, half an hour, that time when I'm just grounded and I'm just concentrating on the movement, because it takes you out of yourself, takes you out of your head, and that's such a good thing. And it's about finding what works for you. But I think particularly in menopause, as I said, talking to Elsa last week, it is such a difficult time for us, isn't it? It really is. And to be able to do these, practice Reiki or Qigong or yoga or whatever it is that works for you, without feeling like, the pressure to go to the gym and do these crazy, I don't know. I see people at the gym going absolutely hell for leather and like, good luck to you. But I personally, I've done that. I've done the whole aerobics and the sort of the freneticism of it. And I just don't want to do that anymore. And as I said, I do like pump, but even that sometimes I find it a bit stressful, because it's right, load up your bars, put your, and it's quite frenetic. But I can't, I sort of balance that with obviously the yoga as well. But for menopausal women, would you say that this is the way forward, that this is a good tool?
I would.
Yeah.
I wish I'd learnt the Qigong earlier. I still do some stuff with my mother, but her bones are very twisted from arthritis and scoliosis and things like that. There's so much stuff, and pain is such a biggie. I still have dexterity issues with my hands. There's still things I can't do. I'm forever giving my husband a jar and saying, make it look really difficult, even though I know it's simple, but I just can't twist my hands that way. But I don't have pain, and that's a biggie, and I can live with that. So it can't reverse things like arthritis, but I'm hoping it's paused it. I haven't noticed a great deal more in the disfiguration that comes, the wonky fingers and the like.
So have you got osteoarthritis? Is that what it is? Because that's what I've got.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
for the purpose of the camera. Lovely.
Yeah, twisty
really
fingers.
Attractive. Yeah. Honestly, I just and my fingers feel, particularly in the winter, they get really, really inflamed. Really, really like holding a mouse is really difficult, or doing up a zip or something like that. And at one point I had no movement in my toes at all, but yoga has really helped that, because I'm standing on my tippy toes, almost on point, like you were in ballet, you wouldn't do in ballet, and that has really helped. And when I'm swimming now, I'm making sure that when I'm doing breaststroke, I'm sort of doing this through the water, so trying to use my fingers as much as possible. But it is really, really painful, but it's really interesting that you say that, you're pretty much pain-free now. That's a modern miracle, isn't it? It really, really is.
It is, yeah.
So much to talk about. Going back to the NLP that you trained in, you said something in your bio that I'm fascinated about. You had experience with childhood drawings becoming a reality. Pray tell, what does that mean? I don't even know how I'd sort of visualize that.
So this is where my love of visualization comes in. And the event that you came to in January, we were creating a vision board where we were sticking words and pictures and things that we wanted to bring into our lives for the coming year. We're doing the same event again this year. But that really, my love of visualization came from when I was a child. I used to love to draw. I'm talking about 5, 6, 7 years old, and I'd always draw pictures of my family, and there'd be me and my husband and my 5 children, and 3 boys and 2 girls in this house, and a little black dog. And we bred golden retrievers, and my mum would always say, why isn't the dog golden? Why isn't she a golden retriever? So I'd draw her golden, and I'd always end up colouring her over in a black crayon. And then as I got a bit older, I did some detailed plans of what my house was going to look like. It was amazing.
Wow.
And all this kind of thing. Anyway, then I didn't really think about it. I didn't particularly look at these pictures or anything. And life went on. I got married. I had my son, and it was wonderful. Motherhood was amazing. I had my daughter, and it was suddenly really, really hard work having 2 tiny children. And I thought, okay, I've got my son, I've got my daughter. Maybe I'll just stop there. And
no.
Yeah, life had other plans for me. And then they were both starting secondary school at the same year, and I'd split with my husband by then, and they were off to secondary school, and I could see that light at the end of the tunnel. And a couple of months later, I met my current husband, Jerry. Now, Jerry was widowed, and he had 3 small children. He had the youngest was 5 and 6, the youngest 2 were 5 and 6, and then a teenager. And within the year, we'd both sold our houses and moved into a house in Milton Keynes. And when we were unpacking, I came across one of the photos of the plan of my house. Now, at the time, this totally freaked me out, because the house plan was the house we were moving into. And I was really freaked by it. And I ripped up the picture.
That's very Twilight Zone, isn't it?
Knowing what I know now, I really wish I kept that picture, but no, I ripped it up because it just totally freaked me out, because I hadn't thought about it. I hadn't looked at the picture. It just happened to be in a keepsake box that I had. And it was very, very strange. And that was it. My 3 boys, my 2 girls, myself, Jerry, this house. Just no black dog. Anyway, a few years later, we had a little old cat, and I'd always said to the kids that when the cat went, we'd get a dog. And of course, the cat heard, and she was 22 when she finally passed away. And so I saw an advert for some retrievers, Labrador retrievers, and in my head, they were golden. And when we got there, Mum was golden, Dad was black, and all the puppies were black Labradors.
Oh my God!
And so again, without even thinking about that picture, Pippa came along, and Pippa is still with us, and this is going on. She's turned 15 now. So yeah, and that was the completion of my picture. And again, none of these things I'd premeditated. I'd really thought about. They just happened to.
But you'd manifested. You'd manifested
that was
them,
what I wanted, and that was what came through. So yeah, when I got over being totally freaked, a lot of the things that I subsequently learned have led me to understand how, when we define what it is we want to bring into our lives, it's so much easier to bring that thing in, which is why I love a vision board, especially in January. Let loose anything that's, not gone the way you wanted to, anything you've changed your mind on, anything that's not serving you, let it go with love. And bring in the things that you want to achieve in the coming year. And knowing what you want to achieve in that year makes it so much easier to focus on achieving them.
I know. I mean, I really, that was the part of the retreat day that I loved the most. I think doing the vision board as a creative, I actually can't draw at all. So when you say you can draw, I'm like, oh, lucky you, because I really can't draw. But I loved all the sticking, and I loved, I used a lot of words, didn't I?
Yeah.
And as someone who writes, it came quite naturally. But it was really interesting, and I found the whole thing just such a wonderful thing to do, and I'm so glad I did it. And many of those things have come true this year. But again, it is about manifestation, and if you dream it, it will happen. And I've got very different ideas, bigger ideas for next year, much bigger ideas. But this year was about healing, finding myself again, and getting to know myself again, and sort of kind of recouping my losses on so many levels from last year. So I'd highly recommend doing the retreat. It is absolutely incredible, and a vision board is just, it's a very special thing to do, and it's not woo-woo. It really isn't woo-woo. And well, if you think it's woo-woo, it's tough, but still have a go, because it's, don't knock it until you've tried it. So, it's definitely worth having a go to vision board. So you are a woman of many talents, and you bring so much joy to people that you meet, and you've got such a lovely, calm energy about you. I can see why you're so brilliant at what you do, because you just have this. I feel really calm, actually. I feel really calm today. Normally by the end of my show, I'm a bit like talking 90 miles an hour, but you have got this incredible energy, and I think we're feeling very zen in the studio. So that's, you're obviously doing, gone into the right profession. So tell us how we can find you on socials, what events you've got coming up.
Okay, so my website is radiant-wellness.co.uk. And I've got all my events on there on the services page. So there's individual services, there's groups. So I'm updating that at the moment. I've got a workshop coming up, which is Winter Qigong. So it's a Winter Qigong season. And also a really interesting meditation called a Sri Yantra meditation, which is a meditation on the picture of the Sri Yantra, which is quite interesting. So it's a little bit more in depth about that one. And then we've got our 4th of January, first Sunday of the new year. We've got our vision board for dusting out the 2025 and drawing in the 2026, and that will be a fabulous day. We'll start with some Qigong. We'll do a little bit of talk about planning the vision board, and then we'll get in with sticking and gluing. We'll have a lovely hearty dinner for the winter.
The food was excellent. I do recommend the
last
food.
time, didn't it? There was snow, and we thought, oh no, but it was okay, and we had a good warming dinner. And then we'll finish up the vision boards, and we'll finish the day with a sound bath from the lovely Donna.
Honestly, cannot recommend this. This is the best way to start the new year. I really, really recommend. Thank you, Annette, for being such an amazing guest, for bringing your lovely, calm, healing energy into the studio. And I'm looking forward to coming to some of your events coming up. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Nancy, can I just mention as well, I've got a YouTube channel, which is called Annette's Qigong Journey. I'm building it, so bear with me, everyone. There will be lots of little short videos going up there that you can follow along to, and a few explanations on what it is and how it works.
That's great, because sometimes people need a visual. They really do. So no, thank you. That was certainly we'll put that on my stories. Thank you so much for listening to the show. If you enjoyed it, please like, share, and follow me on social media. If you don't want to miss an episode, please, as I say, subscribe. We're on obviously on all the mainstream radio. We're on YouTube, on Spotify, and Apple. So it depends on what your vibe is. But your support does mean the world. It helps me keep bringing, hopefully joy and the best in lifestyle, theatre, TV, and more. And next week, I think I'm going to do a bit more fashiony bits, because a lot of people have messaged me saying, can you keep doing do some more fashiony bits? So, but thank you so much for listening to the Nancy Stevens Lifestyle Show. Your support, as I say, it means so much. Give me a like, follow, or share, and I'm on Instagram _NancyMK_. Stay fabulous. I'll see you next time on the Nancy Stevens Lifestyle Show.